Welcome to BillionX. Today we dive into a story where failure wasn't the end, it was the beginning. Before Microsoft was born, Bill Gates and Paul Allen had built something called Traf-O-Data. It was a traffic data analyzer, a product they believed could change how cities worked. But the government rejected it, flat out. No sales, no future, just silence. Most young entrepreneurs would have walked away, discouraged and defeated. But Bill didn't quit. That rejection didn't crush him. It planted the first seed of what would soon shake the world. Bill Gates was never the popular kid. He was the quiet boy buried deep in books, lost in code while the rest played outside. At Lakeside School, he'd sneak into computer labs and stay for hours, obsessed with logic, fascinated by possibility. His classmates didn't get him. His teachers didn't know what to do with him. But while others chased acceptance, Bill was chasing mastery. That isolation shaped something sharper than confidence. It gave him vision, a rare kind of mental edge no one saw coming. To the world, dropping out of Harvard was madness. But to Gates, it was clarity. The moment he saw the Altair 8800 on the cover of Popular Electronics, something clicked. He called Paul Allen and said, "This is it. No safety net, no fallback, no backup plan. Just pure conviction." He left Harvard not out of rebellion, but because the future couldn't wait. While others were earning degrees, he was about to rewire the entire digital world from scratch. In the 1970s, software wasn't seen as a product. It was just an extra, a throw-in, an invisible part of the machine. But Gates saw something no one else did. He believed software would be everything. When he and Paul Allen pitched their basic language to MITs, they were laughed at. But they built it anyway. In a tiny room with no heat and no certainty, they coded like maniacs. That gamble didn't just pay off. It flipped the whole industry on its head. IBM needed an operating system. Gates didn't have one yet, but he said yes anyway. Then he bought one, QDOS, for $50,000. He improved it, branded it as MS-DOS, and licensed it instead of selling it. That one move turned Microsoft from a small startup into a software empire. Gates wasn't just building tech. He was building leverage. It wasn't about what he had. It was about what he saw. And that vision was now unstoppable. Bill Gates did something no one else had the nerve to do. When IBM came knocking, he didn't sell the software outright. He licensed MS-DOS, retaining ownership and charging IBM for each copy. It was a genius move wrapped in simplicity. While IBM thought they were buying a tool, Gates was silently building a pipeline. Every machine they sold carried Microsoft's software. It wasn't just a deal, it was a masterclass in strategy. Gates had turned a product into a royalty machine. When Windows launched, it wasn't perfect. Critics called it clunky. Competitors laughed. But Gates kept building, iterating, improving. He wasn't chasing applause. He was chasing dominance. Behind closed doors, Microsoft was refining the future. And then, version by version, Windows took over. The mouse, the GUI, the desktop icons, all became global standards. Gates had redefined how the world used computers, one line of code at a time. With power came enemies. Microsoft was soon labeled a monopoly. Lawsuits followed. Competitors accused Gates of crushing innovation, of bullying smaller firms. And in truth, he was ruthless. He absorbed, outpriced, or buried anything in his way. But that's the price of empire. Behind the calm, nerdy face was a killer instinct. Bill didn't just want success. He wanted control. And in tech, control is everything. By the mid-90s, Gates was the richest man on earth. Not by accident, but by design. Microsoft had spread like wildfire. Office, Windows, Internet Explorer, all roads led back to him. While others chased market share, Gates had built the market. But he didn't flaunt his wealth. No gold chains. No flashy cars. Just more books, more code, more thinking. His empire was made of logic and leverage, not luxury. In 2000, Gates stepped down as CEO, not because he was tired, but because he wanted to think bigger. He handed the reins to Steve Ballmer and moved into the role of chief software architect. It was a subtle shift, but a powerful one. Now, he wasn't just running Microsoft, he was shaping its soul. Gates was no longer chasing competition. He was chasing the next revolution, the future of computing itself. Bill Gates was a visionary, but even visionaries miss a few signs. In the early 90s, Microsoft underestimated the internet. Netscape took the lead, and suddenly Microsoft looked slow. Gates admitted it. He had missed the wave. But unlike others, he didn't defend the past. He turned the company around overnight. He launched Internet Explorer and bundled it with Windows. Aggressive? Yes. Effective? Absolutely. Within years, Netscape was history. Gates had once again turned failure into fuel. They started as allies and became rivals. Steve Jobs called Gates unimaginative. Gates called Jobs arrogant. But underneath the public jabs was a deep, quiet war. Apple believed in beauty. Microsoft believed in reach. While Jobs built art, Gates built scale. Their rivalry pushed both to extremes. And in that tension, innovation exploded. In the end, neither won or lost. They simply reshaped history together. As the world watched his wealth grow, Gates did something unexpected. He began giving it away. He stepped back from code and stepped into crisis. Health, education, sanitation. He didn't just donate. He engineered solutions. Vaccines in Africa, toilets in India, agricultural reform. The same mind that built Windows was now redesigning humanity's future. It wasn't retirement. It was reinvention. By now, Gates had saved more lives through philanthropy than most doctors ever will. His software touched billions, but his vaccines reached millions who had never even used a computer. He redefined what legacy means. Not power, not fame, not even wealth, but impact. The kind of legacy that speaks in silent numbers. Children saved, diseases cured, futures rewritten. Gates didn't believe in genius. He believed in obsession, in learning faster, adapting quicker, and thinking deeper. He read 50 books a year, asked more questions than he answered. While the world worshipped talent, Gates worshipped discipline. That's the real foundation of Microsoft. Not luck, not money, not even code. Just relentless learning and quiet, unshakable belief. Despite his triumphs, Gates openly admits regret. He missed moments with his children. He worked through birthdays, skipped family dinners, and chased deadlines while time slipped away. In the silence of later years, he reflected on what matters. Not just innovation, but intention. Not just building empires, but being present. Success had a price, but Gates paid it and then taught others not to. Bill Gates wasn't the smartest man in the room, but he was always the most prepared. He asked more, listened deeper, saw longer. His strategy? Stay paranoid, stay hungry, stay curious. While others rested on success, he lived on the next challenge. His mind was a map, stretching years ahead. That's what built Microsoft. Not luck, not a genius, just brutal consistency and microscopic focus. Bill Gates didn't just build Microsoft. He built a blueprint for dreamers, for misfits, for those who failed early but refused to quit. His story isn't about computers. It's about conviction. It's about seeing a world that doesn't exist, then building it line by line. If you've ever failed, been rejected, or doubted, remember, so did he. But he turned that into something timeless. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel, BillionX. More stories like this are coming, and your journey deserves inspiration, too.